What was my biggest spiritual breakthrough? Okay, here it is. I've tried to talk about this with people in the past that haven't had this experience, and needless to say, I've gotten a lot of glazed over looks and a lot of minds wandering, and not people that don't feel like they get it, like they understand it. And it's it feels like it's one of my life's passions to be able to talk to anyone on their quest for awareness, self-awareness, their awakening process, their spiritual journey. I would love for, I'm opening up to become better and better at talking about my experiences in a way that makes it possible for everyone to connect with everyone along the way. I feel sometimes when I talk about this thing, it goes whoop over some people's heads. And people that have experienced this go, yep, I know exactly what you're talking about. So hang in there if this sounds a little out there. If you're a skeptical person and you have a lot of doubt thoughts that come up about using the word spirituality and mindfulness and stuff like that, just hang in there and listen to this. Know that the words we use are just signposts pointing to experiences, and I'm going to try to throw out the most universal words that don't provoke, that describe the experience as best as possible. Okay, so here we go. This is my spiritual awakening, my spiritual breakthrough, my biggest spiritual moment. Okay, it was 12 years ago. I was coming through a time where I was quitting drinking. I had a huge egoic collapse in my life. Things I was trying, I literally self-sabotaged, burned things to the ground. Struggles in my marriage. Complete bottom in many ways in my life. And I connected with an incredible spiritual teacher. His name was Jesse Anderson, and this was when I lived out in Colorado. And he could see the pain. I was doing work on myself. I was doing 12-step work. I was doing recovery work, and I was working my ass off on it. And I was feeling better. I was feeling aligned. I was starting to look at myself. I was beginning to make peace with who I was, and start to really learn how to heal, learn how to release my resentments, learn how to make peace with what I had done, who I was, who I am now. And then on that journey, when we look at ourselves that deeply, sometimes the pain is undescribable. When we feel so much sadness and shame and guilt and insecurity, it can be overwhelming. And like this spiritual mentor of mine, Jesse, he found me. I was at a meeting. I was at a 12-step meeting, and he could see me and see that it was clear that he had some information to help me. And he came to me. And there's a whole nother story about that I'll share sometime. But long story short, he started to take me on the path of basically the teachings of Eckhart Tolle. That was where we first started. We went a couple other things too. Gangaji, I think we talked about. But he had me read A New Earth, and I started to do the inner body awareness meditation aspect of A New Earth, and I started listening to Eckhart Tolle talking about that we are not our thoughts, we're not our bodies, we are the awareness of those things that is always constant and inside. And I was reading these words and I was thinking about it, and at the time I had started meditating longer periods of time, really playing with it. I mean, hour, 2 hours meditation stretches. I was a pretty dedicated student to this. And so I was meditating and I was reading his book. And I remember this. I was sitting in this mall that I called I named the Sanctuary Mall, which now I think has been torn down. It was like this sort of dying mall, which just had a bunch of stores that were, like really stores that weren't very visited, old shoe stores, more mature people stores. And I would just sit in this mall. It was so quiet and had beautiful light coming down through this sort of diffused light through the top with tall ceilings. And I was reading A New Earth, and I was sitting there, as I had many times, because I was teaching right around the corner. And I was sitting there, and these ideas of we are the awareness were swimming in my head from A New Earth. And I was meditating into my hands and into my, holding my attention on my inner body, doing inner body meditation, which I've talked about in other videos, and Eckhart Tolle talks about it too. And then it happened. It was like, I had this awareness, like a fish that was swimming around in water its whole life and never realized there was such a thing as water. And then it became aware there was water. Like that big of a breakthrough I had. And what it was, if I can really describe it as clearly as possible, if I can use the right words to point to the experience as best as possible, what it was this, I felt like I stepped out and I felt like I really was, and I still do right now as I'm saying it, feel like I am the awareness, the constant awareness that my thoughts come into. So it's like if you close your eyes and look at your eyelids like like a movie screen, and just listen, and just look at the movie screen and listen. The thoughts will come. Your thoughts will come. For whatever reason, my thoughts always feel like they come from the right side of my head. I can't explain it. I don't know. But you will feel thoughts. You'll hear thoughts in your head. It's like a little silent voice kind of, which is weird, I know. But it is like a silent voice talking in your head. And you can tap into an awareness that you're not that voice. Like you're just the silence. And you can become aware of this sensation of silence all the time. All the time. Like right now, I'm talking to you and I can feel the buzziness in my hands. Like my awareness is in my hands and in my feet. I feel my body. I even feel the spatialness in my head. I'm aware of my thoughts. I'm not thinking any other thoughts than are coming out of my mouth right now because I've jumped into the pilot seat of my thinking and I'm bringing it out to you. But when I stop talking right now, there are thoughts in my head and I'm aware of them. I am the constant awareness around them. And I feel that now. And the first time I felt that was 12 years ago, sitting in that Sanctuary Mall. I felt this feeling of popping out. And I noticed that as I held my awareness, that whatever that is, that awareness that's always there, even when I don't think, like, it's always there. When I held my awareness on that, it feels like, and I'm speaking experientially, it feels like it's expanding. It feels like it's bigger than my body. It feels like from in that space I'm untouchable. I am always peace. And when I had that breakthrough, I didn't know at the time how big of a deal it was. I remember like, whoa, because I was sitting meditating and it's like I could feel myself as the whole mall. I know that's wild. I could feel myself as the whole mall. And then I didn't realize that over the next 12 years I would play with that more and more. And that was the single greatest discovery that gave me the ability to be able to be at peace with no matter what thoughts come up in my head, no matter what I'm feeling emotionally, no matter what physical pain I'm in. I can always get to a place where I tap into that awareness, that deep, constant awareness inside of me, and everything's okay. And if there's one thing I could hope for everyone to experience, if there's one thing I wish I could go back in time, and I don't wish I could go back in time because I love everything that got me here. If there's one thing I could wish on everyone is this discovery that you are the peace no matter what's happening to you, no matter what you're thinking. Okay, there we go. 10 minutes. I could talk about this for like another 2 hours. Maybe I will sometime. I hope that helps.